How y'all doing? What up? What up? It's your boy King Mumbles, East 905. This is the King's Court Network. So holding court with King Mumbles. So what we do on this is basically we do interviews with people of interest in various fields. Sure about that. All right, battle rap, hip hop, music, entrepreneurship. So today we got a guest who's here. Let me bring her in just now. She is a singer, songwriter, artist, businesswoman overall. So let me bring her in. Hold on a moment there, and she can introduce herself. Hello.
Hello? Can you hear
Hi.
me?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Hi. Can you see
Yeah, I
me?
can hear you.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah. I'm doing
Good?
good. I'm doing good.
Good, good.
Yeah. All right. So this is holding court with King Mumbles, as I said. You guys can see other interviews that I've done with business owners, artists, rappers, producers, basically the different fields that interest me. I follow those endeavors and I feel if I'm interested by them, you guys will be too. And as one of my great loves has always been music, I was an artist myself. So I love to give independent artists, new artists a chance to shine. If I feel the talent is there. This is somebody that I've connected with recently, listened to her music, was blown away, impressed, and I've been bothering her saying I want to interview her ever since. So we're live right now. Introduce yourself to the people, tell them who you are and what you do.
Hi, everybody. I am Handful. My real name is Ariane, but my artist name is Handful. I am a singer, songwriter, and performer, and entrepreneur. I try to do whatever I can.
So um, I want to ask you, what is the history behind the name and the spelling of the name? How did that come
um,
about?
that came about actually. It was crazy, but I was with my producer, Audio Butter, and he's actually produced most of my music that I have there, and I don't know. We were sitting around and he was like, we got to find a name for you and got to find a name for you. And it's not that I'm difficult, but I can be difficult. And I'm very picky when it comes to certain things. And, I just set a certain standard for myself. And something had taken place. And he turned around and he was like, oh my gosh, you're such a handful. And I was just like, why does everybody say that? And then it was just like the light came on and it was like, I was like, okay. I'm like, this makes sense. I'm like, that's perfect, actually. And we were just going on and on about it. But I was like, I didn't want it to be like, just regular handful spelled. I always had this thing where I spell certain things off, and I was like, I want to take out the vowels because if I'm the voice, then I can remove those vowels because I'll fill in that space basically. So I just took away all of the vowels in handful, and that's how I got the spelling.
Oh, so I can start in the beginning, I guess. So, um, what first got you into music?
I'd actually been in music my entire life. I was young, growing up, I grew up in Trinidad, and I was on. I did many competitions. I was singing opera. I was singing folk music. I was doing parang, soca parang. I come from a family of musicians as well. My dad's an amazing drummer, and my mom's an amazing singer as well. So and they play their own instruments. I play steel pan and African drums. So it's just music and dance has always been a part of my life. I only, but in regards to more so releasing myself and coming out as an artist, I did that a few years ago. But I did it a few years ago because throughout the time of me coming up here, I hit a lot of roadblocks when it came to music, because it's very hard to find trustworthy people in the industry and people that genuinely want to push you forward and see you go forward. So it was definitely, at first it seemed like it was easy, but then I ended up realizing certain things, and I had to pause and come back and pause and come back. So I was grateful to have found my producer who I have, and just go with it. So he's been able to find my niche and my flow and adapt to what it is I like. And it's funny because he's white, so everybody just goes, how does he get the whole Caribbean flavor and vibe and everything? So it's kind of like I feel like I'm just introducing him to certain things, and I love that he's going with it. And we've been able to just find that sound. So I really love that, and I've been able to find a lot more people now that are able to adjust to what it is I like. But once again, Handful is very picky. So it is a little harder for me to be able
A
to deal with
handful.
certain things. But definitely that was kind of my roadblocks to why the music came out so late. But yeah, better now than ever.
And what would you like describe your music as? Because when I was writing about your very multi-genre blending, I guess, how would you describe your music to people?
Um, you're right. I do try to touch as many different genres as I can. I've been able to find my way where I can fuse whether it be mainstream, reggae, hip hop, rap, R&B, um, just been able to find my own way to fuse that and showcase my Trinbagonian culture in within that. It's not always the easiest, but I do believe that um, the more versatility you show with your music, the better it is for you. But definitely I try to, it just depends on how I'm feeling. Sometimes you're in your rocker mode, or sometimes you're in your island mode, or whatever. I just always wanted to be able to provide something where I could touch on any genre and it could be a vibe. You sit back, you bun a ting, and you just ride the wave and get, escape in the music. I'm not trying to be too hard or too harsh with my music and overdo. I just really wanted to find that nice little flow and that nice in between. And I wanted to be that girl where people could be like, she's the only one I can see doing that.
What is what is your creative process? Because I know you do the writing and everything. Like, do you have an idea? You get a beat from the producer. Like, what is your creative process in coming up with most of your material?
Um, my process is actually stupid simple. um, don't get me wrong, I do get writer's block a lot, but it's stupid simple, and it's a typical Caribbean way of going about it. But I know a lot of people go, "Oh, make sure you know what you have to do when you have your studio time and blah 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 blah." But I make sure I take care of my studio time so that when I walk into the studio, I sit down, I can bun one, I bring a drink, we vibe, we listen to different beats, we listen to new artists, old artists, we listen to all the different sounds. Because not a lot of people, like the people I'm around, aren't as into soca music as they should be. So I usually try to introduce them to certain sounds that I like and I'm feeling for the while. And then excuse me, and then I just write. I just try to throw it out there. I just try to write as much as I possibly can. Even when I have a random day where I don't feel my best, and I try to do this a little more often now. But even on days where I don't feel my best, because you know how the winter is, and you get that as creatives, we get that winter depression basically. I've just if I have a line in my head, I'll write it down. If I have, a little freestyle I'm feeling in my head, I will try to remember it and write it down. And just, but I mainly like to just plant myself in the environment of the studio, because I do find the studio environment does help me with my creativity a lot, and I love to be in studio.
Okay, okay. Um, who would you say are some of your, I guess, musical like inspirations?
Um, some of my inspirations would be, I'm a very like old school jazz type of R&B, so I would say Sade is a big part of my energy. Anita Baker. I love some Beyonce and Rihanna. Nicki Minaj is great. Um, who else? I've done well. Whitney Houston would be a big one too. I'm actually do a lot of my vocal coaching on Whitney Houston's music, so definitely a great one. Alicia Keys, Brandy, just those typical female voices that we've heard throughout the years. Yeah.
Um, so let's see. What is your thoughts on the like direction of where like music is going now? Do you like it with the more, because I guess there is more genre blending, or do you like do you feel there's less creativity? Like, what are your views on where the music industry is going?
Um, Even with the blending, to be honest, I'm not necessarily a big fan of where music is necessarily going. Um, but every genre and every community has their own thing, so you really have to. I think this is an industry now where you really have to dig through a lot of, it might sound harsh to say, but you have to dig through a lot of trash to find the good stuff. Anybody can be an artist at this point. Anybody can put out music. Anybody will put out music, because now we're in such a social media driven society that anything goes. So people don't really, there's not really a huge value on good music anymore. There's not a big value on stuff that makes sense, and you have a lot of music that's popular that makes no sense, that has no real passion behind it or driven a certain way. It's just somebody that hopped up on YouTube yesterday or last night, and then all of a sudden they're big. And it's like, but what they're saying doesn't even make sense. I feel like now with the younger generation coming up, there's a lack of I would say, well, we've always had people, we've always had the whole issue of how we view the genders and stuff like that, but now it's just very the whole city boy city girl stuff. It's just the energy going into music now, it's not necessarily the most positive. But I must say that being a part of the Toronto community, I must say that there are a lot of hidden musicians that have some amazing talent in Toronto, and Toronto does not get as much love as they should. And there's a lot of substance and essence within what we have going on here, whether you're male or female. The problem is that once again, you just get a lot of the not so good ones that are just hanging over and hovering over the genres. So it's very hard sometimes for the good ones to really come out.
True, true, true. I've always had a thing with Toronto where I've said like we're missing like our hustle as well. Like I used to say, people,
Yep.
like when I used to do music in the 90s, I'm like we have our Jay-Z's and our Biggies.
Yep.
We don't have our Damon Dashes and our Puffies. We don't
Yes.
have no ones that's going to take it and push it onto the radio and do all
Mm.
that, and you know
That's a
like
huge challenge, is getting the good stuff on the radio. And and you kind of hear the same people on the radio all the time. Like it's not, it's like okay, so then how do we, and it's sometimes just something as simple as the how to's. Like it's really hard to get someone to say, hey, you know what, I'm not asking you to hold my hand as an artist. What I'm asking for is a way to show me how I can go from here to there. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of programs and a lot of grants and stuff being offered, but the next, once again, the same problem is they're giving it to the same people all the time. So there's
Mhm.
not really much space for us new artists or up and coming artists to really have much or get much, or say, if you need to, like, I have a website and stuff, but you have a lot of artists that don't even have that. They don't have certain things. And it's like, okay, well, if you see that I have that potential, then how can you help me? I can help you type of energy. But it's just something where it's the same faces, it's the same people you see all the time. So I also feel like that's kind of discouraging to upcoming artists as well.
Which has always been a Toronto, like you,
Yep.
like
It's a
numbers are.
favorites game. It's a favorites game. It's definitely a favorites game.
So, what would you say, like, is like your plan to get around that, and how do you like, and what's gonna make you different to be able to make your mark?
Um, to be honest, I don't have it all fully figured out just yet. Being someone that I'm not, as young as some of the people in the game. I'm 30 years old, and I just feel like for me, what music means to me is what drives me, and I'm not that focused on, you know, overly putting myself out there in a sense where I feel like I have to do what everybody else is doing. If you like my music, if you fucks with my music, you fucks with my music. If you like my music, you like my music. If you don't like it, it is what it is. But I want people to understand that I'm not here to sell a dream or anything. What you hear, this is what you see is what you get. What you're listening to, that's what you're getting. And I really want my music to speak for itself. I've been able to be featured on different, on radio, but that was through certain connections. And, I do feel like I've gotten past that threshold of having music on the radio. Now it's like, okay, I have that feeling. I know what it feels like to be there. So how am I going to maintain that? But the another thing too is because I cross between different genres, it's not always going to appeal to this one. So now it's like, how am I going to figure out who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to get to on certain radio stations for me to get out there? Who am I going to connect with behind the scenes? There are a lot of programs in Toronto that are offering, artist development and stuff like that. Is it necessarily all for everybody? No. um I'm not saying that I'm, a major introvert, but I'm very much introverted, and I feel like I don't I'm not the type of person that wants to be out there in regards to like constantly running around with, artist groups and everybody's just doing the same thing and the same thing. For me, I'm in my own lane. I want to deal with people directly. And I would really like to cut out the middleman. I would really like to cut out the middleman. If I could cut out the middleman or even become that middleman, it's perfect for me. But to be honest, I'm just really just trying to get my music passed over, or just even my name passed over on the right tables with the right hands, and hoping for the best. That's kind of my
Oh,
process right now. I'm not 100% on if the process is, perfect, but I'm getting there.
true. What would you say would be, in doing music as a career, or just doing it as a passion? What would you say would be your biggest strength as a musician, and what would be your biggest weakness?
Um, my biggest strength as a musician, I would say would be I have this ability to, I don't know, I guess catch people. And once I catch you in the crowd, or once I catch you in the vibe, we just ride that wave until, the music I've produced already has, gotten people into this energy, and it can get people into a frenzy. And I find that my experience also works well for me. My biggest weakness, so my biggest strength is being able to catch a vibe with people. My biggest weakness though is that I'm also still very shy and fighting that shyness. So, in it being still a part of my personality, because people can see that I might be a bit more reserved, which I am, because I just don't believe in sharing my energy with every and anybody either, right? So, it's definitely something where I'm definitely that person that sometimes could be like, all right, let me feel out this crowd, let me feel out this situation. And then sometimes I end up pulling back, like, but at the same time, it's definitely something that I'm working on and more like putting myself out there.
Okay. So speaking of the music that you've already done, so you've released material already, an EP, correct?
Yes.
So tell us about the EP and when it was released.
Um, I really well, it's self-entitled Handful. That was released, I would say, about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Um, it's been doing really good. It's been doing really well. I've also released a couple other singles outside of that after and before. Um, that EP, there was a lot of I was able to collaborate with some artists and MCs on that EP that I've known for a long time, which I was really happy about. And it really showed my versatility where dancehall was concerned and just connecting with, that side of things. Handful, the EP it came from a lot of the music came from certain places and experiences that I had throughout, my life, my relationships, and also once again just talking about being able to carry a vibe and just enjoying that side of life where sometimes it's like I just want people to escape from what it is their reality is and just get lost in Handful. So it's
Okay.
definitely a getting to know me type of EP.
And what would you say is your favorite song from that EP and why?
Um, mm, that's a tough one. My favorite song on the EP. It would be between. Hmm. I don't think I have a favorite. I think they're all like I vibe with all of them. But let me see. I would.
Most artists
I really love vibing. I really love vibing. That's what me and my brethren, Kwesi. Actually went to university with Kwesi, so I've known Kwesi for a very long time. And how the song came about was, we were just in the studio. We just finished doing a song, and my producer was like, he actually introduced me to my producer, and my producer was just like, I have let's try to build something new, let's do something fresh. And I was like, all right. And he was making his own music at the time, and he was finding a little he was it was a little hard because just to connect with the beat and write and stuff like that, sometimes you just need a little push. So I had went there to help him with that, but as soon as we started making the beat for Vibin, he was about to leave actually, and he just sat down there and he's like, yeah, this is tough. And I was like, all right, well, hop on. It was just the most last minute thing ever, but I was just like, hop on, let's see how it goes. And he actually just came all the way out of his shell in that one. So I really loved vibing.
cool, cool. Um, um, are you working on anything specific now, like any specific projects, or just writing and
Well, right now I'm doing, I am writing, but I am currently just working on the ins and outs of recording a few more songs. And because my producer, unfortunately, he went away for a little while, so he went to a different country for a little while. So I've been just kind of more picking up in regards to getting studio time and doing stuff here. But the music's written, re-recording some stuff as well, to get mixed and mastered and be able to drop some stuff in the next upcoming months. So I'm pretty excited for that. This is definitely a different side of Handful. It's not as, necessarily raunchy, but very much, talking about a lot of experiences that I've been through in the past year or two.
okay? A question I like to uh, pretty much in most of my interviews there, you said you were 30. So think about yourself, I guess, approximately about 10 to 15 years ago. They're a young handful. If you were able to like quickly go back in time and give yourself one quick message to help you along the journey that you were about to take, what would you want to tell a young teenage handful?
What I would want to tell a young handful is most definitely that friends will carry you and they won't bring you back. You could follow people from here till next year. You could believe things that people say to you. You could believe all the roads and rides they want you on. But if you don't handle your business and secure your own business, you're going to find yourself at a loss. People build themselves a lot in this industry off of other people's backs. They aren't not everybody's necessarily the most honest. And I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying it's everybody, but you really got to search through the rough to find the diamonds in the industry. And not everybody that says they want to work with you wants to necessarily work with you. Some people want to, I've dealt with people trying to just take control and tell me what to do, and I'm very much like that person where it's like, stay headstrong, stay headstrong. Don't listen to other people when they're ready, unless they come from having those credentials. There's not really much anybody can tell you. If they don't have the credentials to show, if they don't have certain things to show, they can't really say much to you at that young age. So definitely one of those things where it's like, handle your business. Don't follow anybody else. Remember your path. Remember the path that you're on. And remember that it's you at the end of the day.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, do you what would your advice be for other songwriters?
Practice makes perfect. Continue to practice, continue to write, continue to hone your craft. I've helped other artists write music. I've been able to dibble and dabble with other people as well. And as a writer myself, I prize. That's why I said, anytime you get a word or you get a phrase or you get a feeling, always have your notepad or a piece of paper close by to write it down, because when you revisit that line, or sometimes you'll regret you don't write that line down. So write it all down. Write it all down. Write every bit of it down. And you know what? Even if you may not necessarily be on point or on beat or whatever, you can always add or take away. But just don't forget it. Write it down, because you're going to use it, and use everything. Then you may not use it today, you may not use it tomorrow, you may not even use it next year. But being somebody that's dredged up music and stuff that I've written from a long time ago and been able to make good music with it, save it, write it down. Remember, practice will always make perfect. And read, expand your mind, expand your vocabulary. Read. Nobody like a stupidity. You know what I mean? I just feel like, especially with the music now, everything is huh. Like, no, there's no, you're not saying anything. Say something. Let your music mean something. Say something. You don't have to write from here to yonder, but at least say something that makes sense. Say something of sense. But yeah.
As somebody who writes as well, I will say the reading advice is very true because it exposes you to different people's vocabulary,
Absolutely.
different writing styles, different like the stuff that you would just inspiration that you can take from to
Yeah.
make similes and yes, definitely very much. The more you read,
Yes. Big thing.
it's
Big
gonna
thing.
help you. So what would be you talked about doing some collaborations. What are some dream collaborations for you?
Dream collaborations. I have the weirdest collaboration dreams, but I'm gonna just share anyways. um, I would. Definitely in regards to the soca world, I would love to collab with like Patrice Roberts or Bungie Garlin someday. Obviously, Annie Trini Gill would love to do a collab with either Nicki Minaj or Cardi B. Um, but in regards to dance hall, I would love to do a collaboration with Skilly Bang, even Cartel, Shensia, those guys definitely on my radar. But that would be, and I mean, as for a Toronto artist, there's people like obviously Drake is definitely would be at the top of the list in regards to the popular ones now. And you have a few people like Havaya Mighty, Omega, her sister Omega is great as well. Everything Ocean, they're great. I've already collabed with Chels, so doing another collab with Chels would be great. Another collab with Matic, J Matic would be great as well. G Vine's a bit of an older head in our community with PHS Entertainment, but he has such an amazing vibe. Sample King, definitely great guy as well. So those are a few on the list. Would like to cut down, but yeah.
Yeah, you always got to speak those out and write those out because
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's all
what's
about
to stop
speaking it
the
into
magic to
existence,
happen?
you know.
Yeah, there's who know, they might hear, and be like, oh, and need that vibe on their album.
Facts, big
So,
facts.
have you done a lot of performing, or what is that, or plans in performance in the future?
I have done a couple of performances. I'm very happy to have had those opportunities throughout the few years to be able to do a couple open mics, do a couple of shows. Last year, I performed for the Trinidad and Tobago Festival, so I'm hopeful that this year that comes again. I've been able to do a couple other ones. My most recent show was canceled because of the weather. It is what it is. We are in Canada, so it's not much else we can do there. But in future, I do see a lot of shows coming up in the near future, just about, applying for certain things and just seeing what pops up when it pops up. Keep going to open mics, going to different things. And once again, networking is a big thing because we have a lot of people in this community right now and they're doing a lot of shows. There's a lot of theaters opening up and stuff. So just we'll see there, but from what I can see in the near future, there's a lot of shows upcoming and I'm pretty excited to be a part of them.
So, y'all hear that? If you need somebody on your show, you need somebody to open up for, a regular artist that you're bringing down,
Yes.
look for Handful. So, what are your interests outside of music?
My interests outside of music, I am actually a hairstylist. I'm a braider by trade. I'm also into AV tech work, so that's like audio visual stuff for like different events. I work on big scales for concerts or smaller scales, but this is just the actual construction of the sites. I do enjoy doing that. I'm also a bartender. So bartending's just I find myself to be a liquor connoisseur. So, I like the fact that I get, into different environments and get to experience different types of liquor and just expand my palate on certain things, make my own creations and stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay, and the final question before we wrap up, um, any last message for your fans and let them know how to find you, and any last messages?
Any messages for my fans and where to find me? Well, you guys can find me on Instagram at HNDFLL underscore official. That's handful underscore official. Once again, no vowels. On TikTok, I'm HNDFLL. And mostly anywhere else you can find me would be under HNDFLL. I'm on Spotify, on all platforms, SoundCloud, iTunes, everything, Apple Music. So just keep streaming, follow, like, share. And my message to them would be, keep your heads up. The summer's almost here. So let's ride the wave until we get there.
All right. Thank you very much for coming through. We'll have all the links in the description afterwards.
Yes.
And make sure y'all follow Handful, check out her music. Be ready for her name on flyers. Make sure you support it and show some love. Thank you very much for coming through.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. All right. Have a good one. Peace.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, y'all. All right, y'all. So we're gonna be headed out. Y'all have a good one. Mumbles, and we'll end it. Playing a little bit of music, y'all. All of it, So we turn that off, and we're gonna play some music for a bit to end the live here. All right, y'all.
Caribbean girl, sweet like calypso. Make your man tell you that you want it so. Shoot it in, make me feel like you want me. Straight and narrow, addicted like Sunday.
Open up says me, like the letter Y, let I and I push cock in a your nigga eye. Pressure apply when you want measure me pipe. Do as you like, swing slide, boom click glide. Panic amic, love how me stab it. Sing like Titanic, draw back dynamic. Deep with the panic, beg me fit. Wine it in. Your pussy are the best invention. Even if you mention attention, send me to a next dimension. No suspension, a life detention. Want no money, give me your pussy for me pension. Stress prevention, treasure in your section. No objection, protection from your selection, royalty reflection. Your position and motion set away tight, boom boom can't make that get away. The way I make my features make me day, me pen right up in a you one big essay. Up till next day, beg no left space. She say replay, change the work in the best way. Let's way right brace, ease not south and west way, balance like swag way.
Caribbean girl, sweet like calypso. Make your man tell you that you want it so. Shoot it in, make me feel like you want me. Straight and narrow, addicted like Sunday.
Keep it good to love, keep me on it, but I love no fun day. Make it slave to the cuddle love. We'll never find another love like me. We'll never find a puss to make you shaka Zulu. Foot punches, you chat to lose. I got your love in my puzzle. Of love, of life, I'll be your wife. Tell me that you want the fuck my tick. You control my love, you want the control. La 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 la. Yes, you is the da da. My kids, my love, my life. I want you to give me your life on your cloud. Tell me that you want me loud. Spread my legs. Tell me that you want big red pecs. Show it up. Try your luck. Leprechaun in my sweet spot. Trini girls, get your cut. You like Spellman. Yes, press my front door. Your name Bellman.
Caribbean girl, sweet like calypso. Make your man tell you that you want it so. Shoot it in, make me feel like you want me. Straight and narrow, addicted like Sunday. Caribbean girl, sweet like calypso. Make your man tell you that you want it so. Shoot it in, make me feel like you want me. Straight and narrow, addicted like Sunday.
Party nice, drinks I like. You is the boss, so I on time. Bump at the front, push back, you like. You is the one I run by. Tell me my love, oh what you want to take too long. I know what I'm wanting. On the wall, whining, cause traffic. No need to front, always be my one take. You said your waistline roll. So then still do it's time, boy. Cause I'm ready for the very love show. Hit me one time and go. Give me this and I can walk you good. Walk on my feet and walk on my feet and good walk, take it in stride. I don't hide, I like what I like. Need hardcore loving all through the night. You is the husband, I be wife. Saddle up, take it back. Hold me tight and give me big man walk. CEO at the front shift, never get caught. Yeah, I'm me for the night, you take off. Take this one, make me stick pan. Keys to the truck, my walk, you stick pan. Yeah, big man, use your flow. Ride me rough, push your tight, shove the fuck. No inni miney, you don't want nothing whiny, please. Beg your walk, you take it down to the ground, right big truck. Cause I You said I fly, but I said that I ground you. You heard, but I said that I found you. Pulled you, I rubbed you to show you that you were the most. You saw me sure like Tyson, yeah, you refused the most. I said I grossed to you, said that I lost. But you gave me, so I don't see how you lost at all. You said I was the best, but I know you still with your bitch. You still on your shit, yeah, nigga, you switched. You flipped it and you a snitch. You told everybody the pussy you got was the best. You said that you be the best, too much to handle. It's a handful, yeah, you said you ain't no rando. No Sinatra, we defendo. Tell me what you like, I'm faster than idol. Slap you with your manhood. I love it in your backseat to the benzo. Move you into your enzo. I'm around, so text me when you like, no. Other things for me and you to survive through. No other than to make me switch. You and your thoughts can hide out with me if you like. Steady it. Move it around as you sleep. I hold you tight and let you know you're safe in these sheets. My Pinocchio, please tell me lies. Oh, why you look me in my eyes. Oh, while I'm tasting on your lips. Tell me you want forever to lay down inside of these hips. He tryna hit the zero. Suck it for the night, real a nigga, yeah, you is the boss. Push it back, I run it twice. I had a vice grip, yes, I got the tight. You push my buttons, yeah, you right. No other crazy bitch will rub your cocky so tight. Steady on my way to church. Yikes. I pray to God I don't reveal what's really inside these eyes. And I can't help it, you keep begging for what's under my belt. I'm around, so text me when you like, no. Other fans for me and you to survive through. No other than to make me switch sides. You and your thoughts can hide out with me if you like. I'm around, so text me when you like, no. Other fans for me and you to survive through. No other than to make me switch sides. You and your thoughts can hide out with me if you like.
Okay. Really thought I was a Benable. Make a bitch hurt when I told her what I done. Put the front first, your thirst, her burst. Put your manhood in a coffin, nigga spiffy in a hearse. I first, I lost, I want, I don't, I should've, I put it, I did it, I want it, I love it, put it up front. Bitch, for the fact that you don't wanna rubbish to my dump. Yes, you still willing for the cause, cause I'm done. I put you in a bun, hot cross, show enough. Yeah, like hot cross. You see what I did with the beat there? See where I wrote it? I wrote it like yeah, 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 oh, yeah, 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 oh, yeah, 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 oh, yeah, 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 I double back, show me real love, fake nigga. Pull the trigger, now you're some real shit, nigga. Put Baseline, waistline, roll. Jump up, girl, get out of control. Put me in your Benz, I show you good hole. Fashion and style, I come to control. Big man things, you scrunt time and show. Which man come and get good up all. Show me real love, fake nigga. As a man shoot full range, fill trigger. Put your hands on your knees, fake sick figure. Yes, your man, I steer me and you can bump and roll. Make sure so your front I get good up goals. A Friday night and a football, take chances. What the hell is this about? Friday night and taking chances, my girl. What the hell is this? Like yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, like yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, like yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh.
In the studio, yeah, you know we they are vibing. Straight rock body down, yeah, the pussy vibing. All long to the wrong, yeah, we roll it like with crazy and fly down. Know the pussy vibing. Top down, me ride it, pussy tight, me slide it, you push it in, you fast it, but up on the beat, you find it.
When we touching at the bed, legs dividing, straight cocky to the pussy. Exciting, Trini girls love butt breed, so defining. Cause me no laugh and me no joke when it come to piping. We live in the six, but we no stay local, international. Pussy forget the Trojan man, a really hard man. Yeah, get the slogan, knock knock, bad breed at your front door now.
In the studio, yeah, you know we they are vibing. Straight rock body down, yeah, the pussy vibing. All long to the ground, yeah, we roll it like with crazy and fly down. Know the pussy vibing. Top down, me ride it, pussy tight, me slide it, you push it in, you fast it, but up on the beat you find it. In me bed, boy flex, put up me leg, full stretch, position, back as yes, spread my legs them, yeah, put me panning. Favorite position, boy like shoulder, me's a girl, no need for the rough for that. I want to wine on your poor big twister. Say is a sin, pressure bust pipe, yes. In a leggings, bust out the middle hole, yes. Real flex, just flex, cause the man was sex. Perplex, cause I'm mad gal, he the wildest. Marvel gal, yes, is the whole complex. Village girl, hold us, keep the man closest. More set, pure flex is a vibe, so hold me tight, don't let me go yet, no. In a studio, yeah, you know we they are vibing. Straight rock body down, yeah, the pussy vibing. All long to the ground, yeah, we roll it like with crazy and fly down. Know the pussy vibing. Top down, me ride it, pussy tight, me slide it, you push it in, you fast it, but up on the beat you find it.
Journey wonderful with Celebrity Cruises. Sail on the world's best ships to the world's best places, like Europe, the Caribbean, and Alaska. Wake up to a new view every morning. Dine in a new restaurant every evening. And rise or rest to rejuvenate. Get our biggest savings of the year with our Book It List event. Visit Celebrity.com, call 1-800-CELEBRITY, or contact your travel advisor. Offer applies to select sailings. Certain restrictions apply. Visit Celebrity.com for details. Ships registry Malta and Ecuador.
We order the steel piping that is manufactured by the plant, that creates the jobs, that support the families, that include the neighbor who walks your dog. Canada's oil and gas industry has a positive impact in Ontario that may not be obvious. 71,500 jobs and an $8.1 billion contribution to Ontario's economy. Find out more reasons you can feel good about Canada's oil and gas at madecanadianway.ca.
I need you shut it down when you enter. Anything you got to do, you better do it fast. Cause there's no time to check time. There's no time left at all. Anything when you want, you can do. Make you know that this life you know. I know you learn it now. Better advice yourself, you know. Anything when you want, you can do. Anything.
Me I no go para, me I no go stagger, me I no go lie to my girl shungbo me, shungbo me, shungbo me. Me I no go para, me I no go stagger, me I no go lie to my girl shungbo me, shungbo me, shungbo me. Girl I go stand by you shungbo me, I go fight for you shungbo me. I no go lie for you shungbo me, but I no fit die for you shungbo me. Girl I go stand by you shungbo me, I go fight for you, shungbo me. I no go lie for you, shungbo me, but I no fit die for you, shungbo me. Baby, focus, oh, focus, oh. I no go play you like Amos, oh, Amos, oh. Anything they talk about me now, rumors, oh, rumors, oh. I no be bad defender, I no be Ramos, oh, Ramos, oh. For your matter, me I no go para, me I no go stagger, me I no go lie to my girl, shungbo me. Shungbo me, shungbo.
Ooh la la, yeah. Me like say you want me, then you don't want me. God don't play. I got peace and love, or just bring you misery. Terrorize me with your beautiful tone and harmony. Sing my name all night and all morning, oh yeah. You know when you move, I move. Whenever me and you do the do. You know that you sound so nice. Every time me and you do the do. Baby, when you move, I move. Feels so good when we do the do. You know that you sound so nice. Whenever me and you do the do. I like the way you do what you want, where you want. Ain't nobody can take what is yours. You pray for signs, I know I'm the one that you want. And baby girl, I put that on God. I like the way you do what you want, where you want. Ain't nobody can take what is yours. Ain't nobody can take what is yours. Ain't nobody can take what is yours. You know when you move, I move. Whenever me and you do the do. You know that you sound so nice. Every time me and you do the do. Baby, when you move, I move. Feels so good when we do the do. You know that you sound so nice. Whenever me and you do the do. Fiesta when I enter, so you better. Me never want to pressure whenever we. Ooh, you saucy and waiting, baby. Ooh, no. You know when you move, I move. Whenever me and you do the do. You know that you sound so nice. Every time me and you do the do. Baby, when you move, I move. Feels so good when we do the do. You know that you sound so nice. Whenever me and you do the do.
I'm feeling nice, you want it. Wife it, yeah, you love me, baby, don't deny it. You feel me, high, step on ya, ride it, cause you smell me, baby. Up top, I like, my love, you want it in full flight. No lie, I'm a lot, I never empty a parking lot. Pull up your chair, my space, I want pace, but vex man when I want to embrace. I want to
Traffic allowed, yes, bumper to fender. A lot of legs, no return to sender. Feel sweet, feel high, my skin, my own, live my life. Love yourself, don't need them stripes. He say he love you, let him try. Wind up, come up. Slow motion, let's find out. I want to rock, I want to wine, I want to jump on your long tongue slide. You get my best, or I will be nice with a creole, and you never taste so sweet like mine. Creole, and you never taste so sweet like mine.
Them know I'm